You ever wonder why night shift pays more? I used to think it was just the usual graveyard hours, drunks at the drive-thru, the kind of customers who treat you like you're invisible. But that's not it. Not really. If you're reading this, you're already in too deep. Maybe you're just curious, or maybe you're one of us, someone who's worked the late shift, felt the hairs on your neck stand up for no reason, heard the fryer hiss when it's off, or seen something move in the play place after midnight. If so, you know what I'm talking about. If not, well, consider this your only warning. I train the night shift crew at McDonald's. Not because I want to, but because I'm good at it. Because I know the rules. And if you want to make it through the night, you have to know the rules. There are rules for a reason. Break them, and you'll wish you hadn't. I've seen what happens when people get cocky, or curious, or just plain unlucky. I've seen what's left behind. Most people think fast food is all about flipping burgers and cleaning up after teenagers. They don't see the other side, the side that comes out when the clock hits 2 a.m., when the last customer leaves, and the world outside goes quiet. That's when the real shift starts. That's when the rules matter most. You might think I'm just trying to scare you. Maybe you'll laugh, or roll your eyes, or tell yourself it's just a story. But you'll remember this the next time you see a help wanted night shift sign. You'll remember this when you hear something scratching at the back door, or when the lights flicker for no reason. Let me take you back to my first night as a trainer. I always tell them the same thing. Don't ask about the rules. Just follow them. But every new recruit thinks they're different. They show up with that same nervous smile, clutching their little paper hat and their new employee packet, eyes darting around like they're about to start the most boring job in the world. They never see it coming. This one's name was Tyler. He couldn't have been more than 19, maybe 20, with a mop of curly hair and a face that hadn't learned how to hide fear yet. He shook my hand like he was meeting his new best friend, not the guy who'd be teaching him how to survive the night. "Hey, I'm Tyler," he said, voice a little too loud for the empty lobby. "I'm really excited to get started. I've always been a night owl, you know." I grunted something non-committal and led him through the double doors into the back. The kitchen was the same as any other McDonald's on the surface. Stainless steel counters, the hum of the walk-in fridge, the faint smell of fries that never really goes away. But if you looked closer, you'd see the differences. The lights over the fryers flickered, even though the bulbs were new. There was a stain on the tile near the mop sink that never quite came out, no matter how much bleach you used. The clock above the manager's office always ran 7 minutes slow, no matter how many times you reset it. I'd stopped trying to fix it after my third week. Tyler didn't notice any of that. He was too busy asking questions, the way they always do. "So, is it true we get free food on break? Do we really have to clean the play place every night? What's the weirdest thing you've ever found in the ball pit?" I let him talk, let him fill the silence with his nervous energy. It's easier that way. The silence gets heavy if you let it. He followed me around like a puppy as I showed him the ropes. How to work the register, how to drop fries, how to clean the shake machine without losing a finger. He laughed at my jokes, even the ones that weren't funny. He didn't notice the way I kept glancing at the clock, or the way I flinched when the drive-thru speaker crackled for no reason. I could see it in his eyes, though the way he looked at the empty lobby, the way his voice dropped when he asked about the night shift. "Is it really that bad?" he said, half joking, half hopeful. "I mean, it's just McDonald's, right? What's the worst that could happen?" I almost laughed. Almost. But I've seen what happens to the ones who don't take it seriously. The ones who think the rules are just old stories, or hazing rituals, or some kind of inside joke. I've seen what's left behind when they break them. I stopped him before he could clock in. "Before we start," I said, my voice lower than I meant it to be, "there's something you need to know." I watched Tyler's face as I pulled the battered, grease-stained sheet of paper from my back pocket. The night shift rules typed up years ago, laminated, and then re-laminated after too many mysterious stains. I handed it to him, and he took it with a grin, expecting some kind of joke. They always do. "Read them," I said, out loud. He cleared his throat, glancing at me for reassurance. Okay. Rule number 1. Always clock in at least 3 minutes before midnight. Never after. Why 3 minutes? Just read, I said, my voice flat. He shrugged and kept going. Rule number 2. If you hear knocking at the back door between 1 o'clock and 1:15 a.m., do not answer. Even if it sounds like a manager. Especially if it sounds like a manager. He snorted. Is this a prank? I didn't answer. I just watched him, waiting for the smile to fade. He hesitated, then read the next one. Rule number 3. If the drive-thru speaker crackles after 2:13 a.m., do not respond. No matter what you hear. No matter how many times it calls your name. He looked up, eyebrows raised. Seriously? I met his gaze, deadpan. Seriously. He shifted, the first hint of unease flickering across his face. Rule number 4. The ice cream machine must be cleaned by 2:30 a.m. sharp. If it's not, unplug it and leave the room. Do not look inside. Do not try to fix it until sunrise. He looked at the machine, then back at me. Is this why it's always broken? I almost smiled, but not quite. Keep going. He swallowed. Rule number 5. If you see a child alone in the lobby after closing, do not approach. Do not speak. Watch from a distance until it leaves. If it doesn't leave by 2:45, call me. He looked around, as if expecting to see a child lurking in the shadows. The lobby was empty, but the silence pressed in. Rule number 6. If the fryer timer goes off, but no one set it, turn off the fryer and wait 5 minutes before using it again. Do not check the oil. Do not reach inside. He was reading faster now, his voice a little shaky. Rule number 7. Never, ever look in the place tunnel after midnight. If you hear laughter, ignore it. If you see movement, ignore it. If something calls your name, leave the room and lock the door behind you. He looked at me, searching for a punchline. I just stared back. Rule number 8. If the phone rings and the caller ID says unknown, do not answer. If you do not speak. Hang up immediately and check the bathrooms. He licked his lips, glancing at the phone on the wall. Rule number 9. If you find a Happy Meal box on the counter that you didn't prepare, do not open it. Throw it in the dumpster out back. If it's still there when you return, call me. He paused, then read the last one, his voice barely above a whisper. Rule number 10. The walk-in freezer is locked for a reason. If you hear scratching from inside, do not open it. If you see frost on the handle, do not touch it. If the door is open, close it and walk away. Do not look inside. Ever. He finished, letting the paper fall to his side. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Is this some kind of hazing thing? He asked, trying to laugh. Like, you tell the new guy a bunch of creepy stories to freak him out? I shook my head. No hazing. No jokes. These are the rules. You follow them. You get to go home in the morning. You break them, you might not. He tried to brush it off, but I could see the doubt creeping in. But why? I mean, what happens if I cut him off? Don't. Ask about the rules. Just follow them. That's how you make it through the night. He looked at the list again, his hands trembling just a little. Has anyone broken them before? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The look in my eyes was enough. He tried to hand the paper back, but I pushed it toward him. Keep it. You'll need it. He folded it, tucking it into his pocket like a talisman. I could see the gears turning in his head, the way he was trying to rationalize it all. Maybe he thought it was just a weird tradition, or a way to mess with the new guy. Maybe he thought I was crazy, but I could see the fear starting to take root. Most people laugh at first. They don't laugh for long. The first few hours passed in a blur of routine. Tyler settled into the rhythm of the shift, flipping patties, dropping fries, wiping down counters. He cracked jokes about the rules, trying to lighten the mood, but his laughter always died a little too quickly. I watched him out of the corner of my eye, waiting for the moment when the night would start to turn. It always does. The clock above the manager's office ticked past 2 a.m., its hands still 7 minutes slow. The lobby was empty, the parking lot outside washed in the sickly yellow of the streetlights. The world felt smaller, quieter, like we were the only 2 people left awake. Tyler was mopping near the drive-thru window when the speaker crackled. It was a sharp, electric sound, like a radio stuck between stations. He jumped, nearly dropping the mop. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. He looked at me, eyebrows raised. You hear that? I nodded, my voice low. Don't answer it. He grinned, trying to play it cool. What? You think it's a ghost or something? The speaker crackled again, louder this time. There was a burst of static, then a voice thin, distant, warped by the cheap speaker. It didn't sound like any customer I'd ever heard. It didn't sound like a person at all. "Hello?" It whispered, the word stretching out, twisting at the edges. "Is anyone there?" Tyler hesitated, glancing at me. I shook my head, but he was already reaching for the button. "It's probably just some kid messing around," he said, pressing the intercom. "McDonald's, can I help you?" The static deepened, swallowing the words. For a moment, there was nothing but white noise. Then, something else, a sound like breathing, slow and wet, too close to the microphone. That's when I heard it. The static. The voice that wasn't a voice. It said his name. Not the way a person would, but the way a machine might try to imitate a person. "Tyler." It rasped, the syllables scraping against the speaker. "Tyler, let me in." He jerked his hand back, eyes wide. "What the hell?" I grabbed his arm, pulling him away from the window. "Don't answer. Don't ever answer after 2:13. That's the rule." He tried to laugh it off, but his face was pale. "It's just a prank, right? Someone's screwing with us." I didn't answer. I was already checking the security feed, flipping through the cameras. The parking lot was empty. The drive-thru lane was empty. But for a split second, as I switched to the feed by the dumpster, I saw something move, a shadow, tall and thin, flickering at the edge of the frame. It didn't look like a person. It didn't move like one, either. Tyler didn't see it. He was pacing, rubbing his arms, glancing at the speaker like it might start talking again. The static faded, replaced by a low, humming silence. Then the fryer timer went off. No one had said it. The sound was sharp, jarring, echoing through the empty kitchen. Tyler jumped again, nearly slipping on the wet floor. I moved to the fryer, turning it off with shaking hands. "Don't touch it," I said. "Give it 5 minutes." He stared at me, his bravado crumbling. "This is messed up, man. Seriously, is this some kind of initiation? Are you guys watching me on camera or something?" I shook my head. "No one's watching. Not the way you think." He tried to argue, but his voice was thin, uncertain. The silence pressed in, heavy and unnatural. Every sound felt too loud, the hum of the fridge, the buzz of the lights, the distant thump of something moving in the place. I checked the cameras again. The shadow was gone, but the sense of being watched lingered. Tyler hovered near the counter, eyes darting to the drive-thru window, the fryer, the list of rules sticking out of his pocket. He tried to act normal, but I could see the fear in his eyes. The rules weren't funny anymore. I should have stopped them, but I was too late. After the drive-thru incident, the air in the restaurant changed. It was subtle at first, a chill that crept in from the corners, a heaviness that settled on our shoulders. Tyler tried to keep busy, scrubbing the grill with more force than necessary, but his eyes kept flicking to the clock, to the windows, to the shadows that seemed to stretch just a little too far. The appliances started acting up. The shake machine, which had been humming along fine all night, suddenly sputtered and groaned, spitting out a thick, gray sludge that smelled like burnt sugar and something else, something metallic. Tyler gagged, stepping back. "What the hell is that?" I didn't answer. I just unplugged the machine, careful not to look inside. "Leave it," I said. "We'll deal with it in the morning." He shot me a look, but didn't argue. The fryer beeped again, even though we hadn't touched it since the last time. The lights over the prep station flickered, casting long, jerky shadows across the floor. The clock above the manager's office ticked backward for a few seconds, then jumped ahead, skipping over whole minutes like they didn't matter. Tyler started seeing things. I could tell by the way he'd stop mid-sentence, staring at something just over my shoulder, or the way he'd flinch when he caught his own reflection in the window. Once, while he was wiping down the tables, he froze, eyes wide. "Did you see?" "See what?" He shook his head, forcing a laugh. "Nothing. Just thought I saw someone in the place." I didn't tell him about the time I'd seen a hand, small, pale, with too many fingers press against the plastic window of the play tunnel, leaving a smear that took 3 days to fade. Or the time I'd heard laughter echoing from the ball pit, long after closing, and found a single, blood-red ball sitting on the counter the next morning. "You ever see a Happy Meal box bleed?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood with a joke that wasn't really a joke. "I have. Tyler stared at me, waiting for the punchline. I just shrugged. Some nights, you find things on the counter that shouldn't be there. Boxes you didn't make. Toys that don't belong to any set. Once, I found a box leaking something thick and dark. I threw it out, like the rules say. Next night, it was back. Same spot. Still leaking. He swallowed, glancing at the counter as if expecting to see a box waiting for him. What did you do? Called the manager. He told me to burn it. I did. Haven't seen one since. I didn't mention the smell or the way the flames burned blue. Tyler tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. You're messing with me. I shook my head. I wish I was. The night dragged on, time stretching and snapping like an old rubber band. At one point, Tyler checked his phone and frowned. It's 3:12, he said. But the clock says 2:47. Don't trust the clocks, I said. Or your phone. Tom gets weird in here. He looked at me like I was crazy, but he put his phone away. We kept working, moving through the motions of the shift. Tyler cleaned the bathrooms, but came back pale and shaking. I heard someone crying in the last stall, he said. But when I checked, it was empty. I nodded. Don't talk to anyone you find in there after 3 o'clock, even if they sound like they need help. He didn't ask why. He just nodded, eyes wide. I told him about other trainees, the ones who didn't make it. There was a girl named Jess. She thought the rules were funny. She answered the phone when it rang at 3:30. Next thing I knew, she was gone. Left her uniform in the break room, shoes lined up under the bench. Never saw her again. Tyler shivered. What about the others? Some quit. Some just stopped showing up. One guy, Mark, tried to open the freezer after hours. We found him the next morning, standing in the parking lot, barefoot, staring at the sunrise. He wouldn't talk, just kept mumbling about frost and eyes in the dark. Tyler was silent after that, moving through the rest of the shift like a ghost. The normal routines, mopping, wiping, restocking, felt like rituals, desperate attempts to keep the darkness at bay. But the worst was yet to come. The real test. Whatever you do, never open the freezer after 3 a.m. Never. I told Tyler that, more than once. I'd seen the way he looked at the walk-in, the way his eyes lingered on the heavy steel door, the frost that sometimes crept along the edges even when the rest of the kitchen was warm. The freezer was supposed to be a place of safety, a fortress of cold, a place to hide from the heat and the noise. But after 3 a.m., it became something else. A boundary. A warning. It was 3:17 when I realized Tyler was gone. 1 minute he was stacking boxes in the dry storage. The next he'd vanished, leaving the storeroom doors swinging open behind him. I called his name, my voice echoing off the tile and stainless steel. No answer. The silence was thick, pressing in on my ears, broken only by the distant hum of the freezer. I found him standing in front of the door, his hand on the handle, his breath fogging in the cold air. The frost on the metal was thicker than usual, swirling in patterns that looked almost like writing. Tyler's knuckles were white, his eyes wide and glassy. Tyler, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Step away from the door. He didn't move. He was staring at the handle, lips moving silently. I caught a few words, help me. Let me out. So cold, but they didn't sound like his voice. They sounded layered, as if someone else was speaking through him. I moved closer, heart pounding. Tyler, let go. Now. He flinched, but his hand stayed on the handle. The frost crept up his fingers, turning them pale and stiff. I could see his breath coming faster, clouding the air between us. Then, from inside the freezer, something knocked. 3 slow, deliberate raps. The sound was muffled, but it vibrated through the metal, through the floor, through my bones. Tyler's eyes snapped to mine, pleading. Did you hear that? He whispered. I nodded, swallowing hard. Don't open it. Whatever you do, don't open it. He shook his head, tears streaming down his cheeks, freezing before they could fall. Someone's in there. I heard them. They're calling my name. I grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back, but he was stronger than he looked. The handle turned, just a fraction, and a blast of cold air rushed out, carrying with it a smell like old meat and something sweet, rotten. The frost on the door pulsed, spreading in jagged lines. From the crack, something pressed against the gap, a hand, pale and thin, with nails like shards of ice. It scrabbled at the edge, leaving gouges in the metal. Tyler screamed, stumbling back, finally letting go. The door slammed shut, the handle spinning on its own, locking with a heavy, final click. We both stood there, gasping, staring at the door. The frost began to recede, the patterns melting into nothing. The silence returned, deeper than before. Tyler collapsed against the wall, shaking. "What was that?" he whispered. I didn't answer. I just knelt beside him, checking his fingers. They were cold, but not frostbitten. He was lucky, luckier than most. He looked at me, eyes wild. There was someone in there. I heard them. They sounded like me. I nodded, my own hands trembling. "That's why you never open the freezer after 3 o'clock. No matter what you hear. No matter who it sounds like." I nodded, my own hands trembling. "That's why you never open the freezer after 3 o'clock. No matter what you hear. No matter who it sounds like." He buried his face in his hands, sobbing quietly. I let him. Sometimes, that's all you can do. The freezer door stood silent, the frost gone, the handle still. But I could feel something watching us from the other side, waiting. I thought I'd save them. I was wrong. Tyler didn't speak much after the freezer. He followed me back to the front, his steps slow and shuffling, like he was moving through water. His face was pale, lips tinged blue, eyes unfocused. I tried to get him to sit, to drink something warm, but he just stared at his hands, flexing his fingers as if he wasn't sure they still belonged to him. I kept an eye on him, but the rest of the shift passed in a blur. The kitchen felt colder, the lights dimmer, the shadows longer. Every so often, I'd catch Tyler glancing over his shoulder, flinching at noises only he could hear. He didn't ask about the rules anymore. He didn't ask about anything. When the sun finally started to rise, painting the parking lot in weak gold, I told him he could go home. He nodded, moving like a sleepwalker, and shuffled out the door without a word. I watched him cross the lot, his figure shrinking in the morning light, until he disappeared around the corner. I never saw him again. He didn't show up for his next shift. Didn't answer his phone. His emergency contact, his mom, came by a few days later, asking if we'd seen him. I lied, told her he'd quit, that he'd seemed restless, eager to move on. She looked at me like she didn't believe a word, but what else could I say? That her son had almost opened a door that should never be opened? That he'd come back changed, hollowed out by something cold, and hungry management didn't ask questions. They never do. They just sent a new trainee, a new stack of paperwork, a new set of uniforms. The only thing that stayed the same was the rules. The rules, and the way the night shift always paid a little more than it should. Rules. Sometimes I think about quitting, about walking out and never looking back. But I know better. The rules don't just keep you safe, they keep you here. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you this. Ever notice how every McDonald's has the same rules? That's not a coincidence. The laminated lists, the quirky night shift traditions, the way every store seems to have a freezer that's just a little too cold, a place that's always a little too dark. It's not just here. It's everywhere. I used to think I was alone in this. That maybe I'd just lost it after too many sleepless nights, too many shifts spent staring at the clock, waiting for something to go wrong. But then I started talking to other trainers. Quiet conversations in the break room, whispered exchanges during the rare all-store meetings. The stories were always the same. Different details, different faces, but the same rules. The same warnings. There's a network, if you know where to look. A handful of us who've survived long enough to see the patterns, to understand that the rules aren't just for show. We share stories, compare notes, try to piece together the bigger picture. Some of us keep records, old notebooks filled with scribbled warnings, lists of names, dates, times. Some of us have scars. Some of us have lost more than we care to admit. I've heard about a store in Ohio where the place tunnel collapsed in on itself, swallowing a trainee whole. About a location in Texas where the ice cream machine started leaking something that wasn't ice cream, and the night manager disappeared without a trace. There's a guy in Florida who swears he saw his own reflection wave at him from the drive-thru window, even though he was alone in the store. Every story ends the same way. Follow the rules, or pay the price. If you've worked night shift, you know. If you don't, count yourself lucky. There's a reason the turnover is so high. There's a reason the pay is just a little better, the hours just a